Good morning. When you turn 90 years of age, everyone in this room, when you hit 90, there's a very good possibility that you will have Alzheimer's disease. If you don't, you will be caring for one. Just because I have wrinkles, it doesn't mean that I'm old. I could be drinking excessively, laying in the tanning bed, smoking a lot. When you open my brain today, there's a very good chance that I have the brain markers. I could have the amyloid plaques. I could have the tangles, tau-containing tangles. But it doesn't mean that I would or I could manifest the symptoms of the disease. They're beginning to find amyloid plaques and tau-containing neurofibrillary tangles in a 19-year-old brain. 19-year-old brain. I'm 95 years of age, sitting in a chair. I'm in an assisted living facility. I look to my left, I see old people. I look to my right, I see more old people. I go like, what the heck am I doing here? I have Alzheimer's disease. They get me ready in the morning. They make me look good. They make me smell good. Right after breakfast, the activities director comes over to me and tells me, Mr. Makesh, it's time for some activities. Let's do some exercises. I go, do my exercises. Right after that, she tells me, you know what? Why don't we do some dance movements? It's good for you. I go and dance. Right after that, she tells me, you know what? Let's do some art. Art helps you to express your inner self. Let's do some art. My day goes on. Right after lunch, she tells me, you know what? Mr. Makesh, let's do some reminiscence therapy. She brings me the album. I start going through the albums. I look at the pictures, and after 5-10 minutes, I go like, hey, that's me, or that's my son, that's my wife. It's 6 o'clock in the evening now. I'm sitting in the chair. My wife walks through the door, and she says, hello, honey. How you doing? I go, who the heck are you? My kids walk through the door. They try to engage with me. They just can't. My question to you today is this where you want to be when you turn 90? For how long are you and I willing to wait so that someone would discover a miracle drug and the treatment process will begin? See, a disease or a condition is a problem when it does one of these two things. Number one, it impairs our ability to care for ourselves and for people around us. Number two, it threatens our ability to thrive, to survive, or to live. Is that a true statement? Is that a true statement? It prevents us from integrating back into our community, to our vocations. 40 years ago, people with multiple sclerosis, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, motor neuron disease, Parkinson's, and even certain acute form of stroke were not able to reintegrate back into their community, back into their vocation. Today they can. Why is that? Every disease and every condition that I just mentioned, it's neurological, it's progressive, there's no miracle drug. But yet today, they are able to reintegrate back into their communities. The only reason is it's because of supportive pharmaceuticals and rehabilitation. How different is Alzheimer's disease? Progressive, neurological, there's no cure. There's no miracle drug. Our human brain is about 3 pounds heavy. For every heartbeat, 20 to 25% of blood supply goes to our brain. Our brain is supplied by one of the most complicated, intricate blood vessels. I'm 189 pounds. My 3-pound brain gets about 25% of the blood supply. 25% kind of gives you an idea what the ratio of distribution is. There are over 2 billion neurons in our brain. And there are over trillion connections. We call them synapses. When you line up all the neurons, and when you tie them up with those connections called the synapses, you and I can go to the moon and come back. When you look at Alzheimer's disease, the way we go about diagnosing Alzheimer's disease is purely based on clinical diagnosis. It's manifestation of symptoms. See, I personally like to follow Dr. Barry Weisberg's scale. Stage 1 through stage 7. As a client declines from one stage to another, their ability to care for self goes down. Their basic cognitive skills are compromised. Now, for you and I to do activities of daily living, that's what happens is the ability to care for ourselves is feeding, dressing, bathing, all of that fun stuff. All of that fun stuff includes movement, posture, coordination, strength. What is it you and I did every single day since we were age 3 years of age? We dress, bathe. I always say even the slobbiest of slob actually bathe at least once a year. Yet, as the client, as the individual, as the older adult progresses from one stage to another, they lose their ability to care for self, something that they have been doing for years. Usually with Alzheimer's disease, it's the short-term memory that's gone. The long-term memory is still intact and is the last one to go. Well, if that's true, things that we've been doing for the last 40, 50, 70, 80, 90 years, why are we forgetting to do those things? When you look at cerebellum is called the mini brain. It's right below the brain, the cerebrum. Cerebellum has 50% of brain neurons. 50%. And cerebellum is not affected by Alzheimer's disease directly. Alzheimer's disease is a disease of the cerebral cortex. Now, what is cerebellum responsible for? Movement, coordination, posture, everything that you and I need to perform our activities of daily living. Let's say the stage that I'm standing on right now, this is about 100 square feet. I'm going to take a bucket of water, a gallon of water, I'm going to pour it in that corner. I'm going to let the water trickle all the way across to the opposite side. How long do you think it's going to take? 10 minutes? 10 minutes? Let's say 10 minutes. Now I'm going to increase the square footage of this stage to 20,000. I'm going to take the same bucket of water, I'm going to pour it on the opposite side. I'm going to let the water trickle down. How long do you think it's going to take? More, maybe a day. The stage that I'm standing on right now is the functional size of the human brain, which we call cognitive reserve. The bucket of water is the disease process. There's nothing you and I can do to stop the progression of the disease. However, you and I have the ability to increase the functional size of our human brain. The human brain 20 years ago was a lot smaller than the human brain today. The reason is the constant, consistent demands that we have to encounter has increased the functional size of a human brain. All the new technologies, every new learning that we do, you and I have complete control over the size of our human brain. Complete control over the functional size of our human brain. There is something called as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is nothing but you and I have the ability to mold the brain the way we want. And for neuroplasticity to occur, any task that needs to be learned has to be repeated anywhere between 400 to 450 times. What is 2 plus 2? He was able to tell 4 right away. Why? How many times has he repeated that activity? What is 20 plus 15? 35. It's the conscious memory. You're able to pull it out right away. It's been repeated. You can still dress, put your shirt on when you're listening to music or doing something else. How many of us really focus on when we start driving, we go through the steps? Many of us, we drive, texting, emailing, and some even drunk. It's amazing what our human brain can do. Now, how do we do 400 to 450 repetitions? A physician cannot do it. A therapist cannot do it. The only ones that can do it is the caregivers, the ones that make anywhere between $9 to $12 an hour. If you and I, our purpose is to enable our clients to live very independently at the highest possible potential or functional level of independence, those repetitions have to occur. If it occurs 3 times a day, divide 450 divided by 3, it's almost over 9 months, 6 months, over 6 months, close to 9 months. How is it possible? Can we do it? The only ones that can do it is our caregivers. When you look at the daycare industry, child daycare industry, there's one caregiver for 10 kids. What do? They care and they teach. Teach through activities, learning, games. They prepare the child to face the world. Whereas we, on the other hand, in the long-term care industry, we're waiting for them to slip through the disease process from stage 1 through stage 7. All we do is interested in caring. Can we continue to provide just care alone? That's the question I've been asking myself for the last 7 years. I'm inspiring and challenging the long-term care industry to do the same. What we do today, is it relevant? See, you and I, we go through 3 stages in life. Stage 1 is, I call the happy-go-lucky phase. We're children. We want to grow up. No burden, no stress, nothing. We want to have fun. Stage 2, I call the slugger phase. Every single one of you are in that slugger phase. Many of you may think that you're living. You're actually trying to save for your retirement phase. That's when your real life begins. And when it's time for us to live, we come down, we have, somewhere along, we picked a bag full of diseases and medical conditions. It is our responsibility as caregivers, as providers, as designers, as architects, as operators, as builders, to enable our clients to live a life independently, to start beginning to live their life. I always say this. See, you and I have the ability to change everything in our industry. We do. We just have to dream the impossible. See, when we dream the impossible, we have only two choices. Either we go, acquire wisdom, knowledge, everything that we need to make the impossible possible, or some of us, like me, we have to depend on the Lord. When you make the impossible possible, that's when inventions occur. That's when innovations occur. How many times people saw the apple fall from the tree before Isaac Newton did? How many times? I would say many. Isaac decided to do something about it, and that's what put man on the moon. I just want to play a short video real quick.
Welcome to the Lantern of Madison. Allow me to give you a tour of our community.
first video is, it's a very old hospital that we retrofitted. The second video that I showed was ground up. The third video that I showed was, actually an old appliance store, like a Walmart, that we bought, and we redid it. Our goal is we're trying to figure a way to actually build facilities cost effectively, because just to give you guys an idea, the mortgage on the first building is about $70,000 a month. The mortgage on the second building is about $110,000 a month. The mortgage on the third building is about $50,000 a month. So if I can find a way to build something, cost effectively, what I can do is I can pass those savings over to my clients. That's the reason I wanted to show all the three videos. But thank you so much. My plea to every single one of you: you are the leaders in the market, you are the change agents, you are the change makers. You have the ability to influence and impact. If we can start thinking, not just dementia, Alzheimer care alone, even assisted living, because, as I said, you will start seeing clients migrate from the AL side to memory care. So start thinking about treating and finding a way to help them enjoy their life, the last 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Thank you so much.